Your intake team is probably treating two completely different probation callers in the same exact way. One caller has a motion to revoke a hearing next week. They might need an attorney immediately. They might be worth $5,000. The other caller is just wondering what happens if they miss a meeting with their probation officer. They're not ready to hire. They might just want free advice. But when both callers say, "I have a question about probation," your intake team probably puts them through the same process. Same tone, same questions, same callback, same amount of time. That is the probation trap. I analyzed 3,492 criminal defense calls for one Dallas-Fort Worth firm. In the pillar video, probation looked like one of the worst topics in the entire dataset. There were 332 probation calls. It was one of the biggest topics by volume, but only 18% qualified. So at the headline level, the lesson looks simple. Probation is high volume, low revenue. But when I went deeper into the actual calls, the story changed because probation is not one thing. Inside that 18% number, some probation callers converted at 62%. Others converted at closer to 10%. Same practice area, same firm, same intake team, completely different buyer intent. And that is the real trap, not probation itself. The trap is treating every probation caller like they need the same thing. In this video, I'm going to show you what's actually inside the probation bucket, which probation calls are worth your intake team's time, which ones are quietly eating it, and the 30-second triad scripts that separates the two. So I went back into the data, I read every probation call, tagged the specific issue, motion to revoke, modification, deferred adjudication, misreporting, SCRAM violation, general probation questions. Then I looked at which subtypes actually qualified. And here's what showed up. Motion to revoke defense, MTR. This is where the caller has an active revocation hearing or is about to have one. The qualification on that was 62%. Deferred adjudication. This is the caller trying to complete probation cleanly and just to get the case dismissed. The qualification rate on that, 58%. SCRAM, or monitor issue, the caller failed the test or the device malfunction or the monitor is affecting their ability to work. The qualification rate on that, 50%. Modification. The caller wants to change their probation terms, travel, employment for drug testing. The qualification rate on that, 45%. For misreporting, if the caller may or may not have missed a meeting with their PO, the qualification rate on that was 10%. Same practice area, same firm, same intake team. 6 times the conversion rate at the top of the list versus the bottom. So this is not a probation problem. This is a triage problem. The issue is not should we take probation calls. The issue is, can your intake team tell the difference between a real probation case and free advice caller in the first 30 seconds? Because here's what makes this so hidden. The subtype is not obvious when the call starts. Every probation call opens the same way. Hi, I'm on probation and I need some help. Or, hey, I have a probation question. Or maybe it's, I'm calling about my probation situation. So 9 seconds into the call, an MTR caller with a hearing next week sounds pretty much identical to someone just wondering out loud about their probation officer and looking to kick tires. Your intake person cannot tell them apart yet, so she splits the difference. Polite, professional, helpful, callback, scheduled. And both callers get roughly the same treatment. That is where the leak happens, because one of those callers needs a lawyer, the other needs a blog post. And if your intake team gives both of them the 20 minutes of human attention, the free advice, caller is not just a bad lead, they're stealing time away from the caller who might actually hire you. So the other part of the problem is the language these callers use. In the probation calls I reviewed, almost half of them used what I would call just wondering language. I have a quick question. I was wondering what happens if, could you tell me? These sort of phrases, nearly half of them. And those callers tend to cluster in the lower converting subtypes. Misreporting, general modification requests, PO issues. These what if questions tend to cluster there. So when you see that 82% of probation callers did not qualify, that doesn't mean 82% of people had real cases and couldn't afford you. It means that the probation bucket is mixed. Some of your callers are urgent, some are serious, some are ready to hire, and a lot are just trying to talk through their situation with the first law firm that answers the phone and get free advice. Your intake team shouldn't be spending the same time on both, because that is the trap. And this connects directly to my jail cell channel video that you can check out. In that video, I showed that the receptionist mirrored urgency 43% of the time on calls, but only 5% on other criminal defense calls. On probation calls, she mirrored urgency around 24% of the time, right in the middle, which actually makes sense. She knows probation matters, but she can't tell at the beginning of the call whether this is 62% MTR caller or a 10% misreporting caller. So she brings the mid-level level urgency to both, and that means she's doing the right thing on average, but the wrong thing on both extremes. There's not enough urgency for the MTR caller, but too much live attention for the free advice caller. So here is the fix. Give your intake team 3 questions to ask in the first 30 seconds of every probation call. The answer puts the caller in the right lane. Question 1 is, do you have a court date scheduled? If yes, this is likely an MTR, revocation, or deferred adjudication. High value, high urgency. You want to route that to an attorney callback as quickly as possible. Question 2, is there something happening right now? A warrant, a monitor issue, a violation notice from your PO? If yes, this is likely a SCRAM, active violation, warrant, or a custody risk. Also high value, also urgent, same routing. Question 3, are you looking to hire an attorney today, or are you still gathering information? If they say they are still gathering information, that doesn't mean to ignore them. It just means they go into a different lane. You want to send them to a self-service resource. That could be a FAQ page, a booking link for a paid consultation, or a short explainer video. A piece of content that you have created and can distribute multiple times. So anything that doesn't require your intake team to spend their actual 20 minutes giving away free advice, or worse yet, your attorney giving away free advice. So 3 questions, 30 seconds, you identify the subtype, you assign them to the right lane, and everything downstream will get easier. And this is where the operator lesson matters. You do not need to stop taking probation calls. You need to stop treating probation like one category, because MTR is not misreporting. Adjudication is not general PO questions. SCRAM violation is not a, I was just wondering. They may all use the same word probation, but they're not the same buyer. They do not have the same urgency, and they should not get the same intake path. Now, let's put a number on it. Start with your baseline probation qualification rate. In this data set, that was 18%. Now, imagine your intake team separates the high value probation calls earlier, the MTR calls, the deferred adjudication, the SCRAM and active violation calls. Those go to a faster, higher touch path. The exploratory callers get routed to self-service or paid consultation. You're not magically making bad leads good. You're doing something more practical. You are moving human intake time away from the callers who are not ready to hire and towards probation callers with actual urgency. That is the lift. So if your firm gets probation volume every month, run the math like this. Take your monthly probation call volume, estimate how many high urgency subtypes you have, look at how many currently qualified, then asks, what happens if better triage improves the blended qualification rate from 18% to 25%? Or 30%. Then multiply the lift by your close rate and your average probation retainer. If your average probation retainer is around $2,500, even a small lift can become meaningful over a year. For many firms, this can unlock tens of thousands of dollars in retained case value. For larger firms with real probation volume, it can be much more. But that's the point, is not the exact dollar amount. The point is that the money is already inside the call volume, it's just buried under the wrong category. Probation, too broad, too vague, too easy to dismiss. The firm sees 332 probation calls at 18% and says probation doesn't convert. But the real answer is some probation calls convert extremely well, but your intake process just has to find them fast enough. So here's the one takeaway from this video. The probation trap is not probation. It's treating every probation caller like they need the same thing. Some of them need an attorney within 2 hours. Some of them need a link to your blog post. Your intake team may not be able to tell them apart in the first 10 seconds, but they can in the first 30. So here's the homework. Tomorrow, pull your last 30 probation calls from your spreadsheet. Use whatever you have. If it's a call log, a CRM, maybe a receptionist notes, call recording, every firm's different. But for each one, write down the subtype. Was it MTR? Was it deferred adjudication, SCRAM, modification, misreporting, or a general question? Then you want to look at which one's qualified. 10 minutes. That's going to take you 10 minutes. That's the audit. The gap between your best probation subtypes and your worst probation subtypes is the trap. This is part of my series breaking down 3,492 criminal defense intake calls. If you've not seen the pillar video, watch it next. It gives you the 6 intake leaks in one place, and if you want me to run this kind of audit against your firm's actual call data, the link is in the description. There's no pitch. I just think every criminal defense firm should be doing this at least once a year. Pillar videos on screen now. Hit subscribe.